Nihon Falcom is doing the impossible with The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky the First, a full remake of a game that people have been wanting to come over. The Legend of Heroes fans have been saying you must start with this game that's decade plus old and you can't go anywhere else, and finally Falcom is listening. But there are big changes afoot here in terms of potential distribution for this game, what is happening with it, and we've got an update. It was just a snippet of gameplay footage and a highlight reel in the recent Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, but we got a bigger trailer in Japan, an updated one, two of them I think, and we've got updates on the game itself, more information. Guys, this is definitely going to be a bit of a game changer, and it could show us the future that once again nobody thought was possible if you go back to 2017, 2018, and what Falcom was saying about their games and the Nintendo Switch. But before we get into all that, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my Nintendo Switch and RPG updates first. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the article here. Shoutouts to Gamatsu. Falcom has officially announced The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky the First, a remake of the original The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky for the Switch. It will launch officially in 2025 worldwide, it seems. So it looks like it's not going to be like, let's say 2025 for Japan and then like 2026 or something like that for the US, like we've seen with some of the other Nihon Falcom games. Now here is more information on the official website of the game. An orthodox story that depicts the journey of two companions. Protagonists are Estelle and her partner Joshua, who aspire to become bracers, protectors of peace in the region. As they take their first steps as apprentice bracers, the duo travels across the liberal kingdom, resolving various quests and incidents in each place they visit, gaining experience as bracers along the way. This is a full remake of the Trails in the Sky world. This game, a full remake of The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, faithfully recreates Liberal Kingdom setting in full 3D. Transitions from fields to towns are now seamless, allowing players to feel fully immersed in the world of The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. Now we have more information on the system and battle because there was some confusion about this. So you can attack enemies on the field to initiate command-based battles, engage in combat using various attacks and magic spells called arts, following the turn order of allies and enemies. The game's intuitive and easy to understand controls ensure that even those new to RPGs can enjoy the game stress-free. So there's a number of things that I want to go with this before we get into the next part. All of this is so good to see. People have been talking about when it comes to Legend of Heroes fans, you got to go back and play the game from the PSP or play it some type of way, emulation or whoever the case is, in order to get into it because the stories are connected. So finally they decided to go back and do this, and the game looks absolutely beautiful from the Nintendo Switch footage, which they did have it running on the Nintendo Switch because the screenshots that they did provide show the ABXY, and that's something that's definitely a good thing. You don't want to see another system footage and then when you get the Switch version it's like, oh man, that's not what it looked like beforehand. So this is a beautifully crafted game that it seems like Nihon Falcom took their time in developing. They did not rush this out because honestly they probably could have had this game out or thought about it before, but I think that they really took their time because this looks like a cut or a step above what they've done previously with Ease games and all of that. Absolutely looks better. Even like some of the Legend of Heroes games, this looks better than all of those and the ports that were handled to the Nintendo Switch. So they really cooked on this one, took their time, and make sure that they optimized it for the Nintendo Switch. They're serious about this remake. Now, I do want to get into another bit of information here. Let's talk about an update from a Falcom representative, and he clarified a couple of different things when it comes to the publishing and information. Gamatsu got this information firsthand. So platforms, quote, while the game has been announced for Nintendo Switch, a release on PlayStation and PC platforms is currently, quote, to be determined. There is a possibility that it could release on these platforms, and if that decision is made, it will be announced in a press release at a later date. Now, they also talked about the Western publisher for the game. At this time, the Western publisher is to be determined, which is why our company name was mentioned in the announcement. There's a possibility that we may handle distribution ourselves, but if arrangements are made with a local publisher, they would be responsible for distribution instead. So what this tells me is that, one, this game was developed in-house. Let's talk about the platforms. It was developed in-house for the Nintendo Switch. Falcom, for those who don't know, they really outsourced their development when it came down to it with the Nintendo Switch at first, but then I think about a couple years ago, they've got dev kits inside their system and they actually started developing it in-house. So that's definitely good because you're going to get better quality if the developer decides to spend more time with it themselves, hands-on, instead of putting it towards somebody else. But the big thing with this is that they're actually prioritizing the Nintendo Switch. This is the first time that I've ever seen Falcom prioritize, as in, hey, we're announcing it for Switch, and that's the platform that we're really targeting. And then if it's going to come to other platforms, cool, it's going to come to other platforms. Before, it wasn't like that, like with Ease 8, Lacrimosa of Dana, and some of the other games that they've had. It seems like it was an afterthought, or like, okay, PlayStation first and then Nintendo Switch. This is not the case, and I think this is the direct result of the game looking way better than pretty much any of the other Legend of Heroes games on the Nintendo Switch when it comes down to it. This game was built specifically for the Switch, it seems. Now, we'll have to wait and see when it comes to some of these other platforms, but I think it's undeniable looking at the game and the quality of it so far at this point, because I've played the Legend of Heroes Trails Through Cold Steel, I've played the Ease games and all that, and none of those titles look as good as this one. So it absolutely seems like they spent extra time and resources making sure that they built the best game that they could within time and budget for this remake of a legendary game. Now, the Western publisher stuff is interesting. Usually NIS America, Nippon Ichi Software handles it, so we'll see what happens. I'm guessing that they're probably going to see, because of the cost of maybe developing or something, they're doing things a little bit differently, and they're seeing who's going to come in and foot the bill for it. So maybe they'll have something, maybe they won't. I'm guessing Nippon Ichi Software will handle this if they do, but if they just want to self-publish it themselves, I think obviously you cut out the middleman and you can make a lot more, but obviously you have to front a lot more when it comes to physical copies and distribution and all of that. It's not an easy task, especially for a smaller developer like Falcom, but we'll see what happens there, guys. We still have to wait with it, but yeah, this absolutely blew me away. Now, when it comes down to the impossible, like I said, if you go back to 2017, 2018, there were Nintendo fans, and there were articles, I'll have some of them up here for you guys, where the Falcom president was getting so much backlash for what he said about the Nintendo Switch. And at this time, the Nintendo Switch was coming out and it was doing really good. It was outselling the competition, but it still didn't have that massive install base that you know of right now in Japan. But the tides were turning, right? Most people that was looking at the sales in Japan every single week could see that eventually the Switch was going to be the dominant platform. The Nintendo DS was the dominant platform in Japan. The 3DS was the dominant platform at their time. So it only made sense that it would be. But obviously you have a hybrid now, and Neon Falcom has always been, for the most part, a PlayStation-centric developer in the last decade or so, and that's where their games sell best. And essentially he was being really cautious and cost-effective overall, and looking at it really critically when it comes down to the situation. But I think most of us could have told him, look man, you've got to invest into the Nintendo Switch, because this system's probably going to be the dominant platform going forward overall. It's not going to be the PS Vita and the PlayStation 3 and the PS4. It's going to be the Nintendo Switch. And eventually they wised up. But man, if you would have said that they're going to have the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, a full remake, and it's not going to be announced for PlayStation first, or at least PlayStation alongside other platforms, I would have told you no way that's possible at all, because of just the game's history and just because of the franchise and what they've been about their whole existence when it comes to in the last 10 years or so. And now we have it at this point, man. It is crazy. I would love to see it come to other platforms though. Like if it can come to PlayStation and PC, I think that's going to be a good idea. However, I will say this. if this does stay a Nintendo Switch exclusive, or if it stays an exclusive or timed or whatever the case is, and they really push that, they're going to get the Nintendo Switch exclusive buff. They're going to get that same buff certain games like Bravely Default or Octopath Traveler or games like that got when they originally released. If it stays that way, it's going to be marketed more in Nintendo's showcases, Nintendo's events, on their website, and it's going to be talked about more amongst fans overall. Now, once again, I don't want it to be an exclusive thing. I think it should be able to come to PlayStation, and obviously should be able to come to the people that supported it beforehand and the fans and all of that. But like I said, if it does stay that way, I think it's going to get a major push and buff that you just see for a lot of these RPGs that release exclusive on the Nintendo Switch and sell really good on that platform only being on there. There is a history of this when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, looking back at what Square Enix has done and some of the other developers, even like Capcom with Monster Hunter Rise, obviously a much bigger franchise, but that sold explosive numbers before it got ported over. So I think that might be a good option if they want to do that, if they really just want to focus in and make sure the Switch version is the best that it can be and then port it over to other platforms or whatever they decide to do. But I would love to have it on everything. But either way, man, I think that this is just overall, it's a good thing to just talk about and have. Like, regardless of how you feel about platforms right now or what they're going to do, it's still to be determined, so we don't know at this point. But just having this be announced and having it be a side note in the Nintendo Direct for the American presentation was crazy. But my man Stealth actually had a pretty good tweet because he talked about this. We had the Yakuza Kiwami game that was announced at the end as the one more last thing, but obviously this game is far bigger. This is a far bigger deal than the Yakuza game, even though that's the first Yakuza game on the Nintendo Switch. But the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, this remake is something that people have been wanting for a long time now at this point, a decade or so plus at this point. People have been wanting this game. So this is definitely a huge deal, but it seems like they didn't have the English footage and the English stuff ready. And obviously it plays into what they said about a worldwide publisher. And clearly it plays into the distribution when it comes to worldwide and all that, that they simply don't have all of that ready. So I think that's the reason why we barely saw any of it in the Nintendo of America presentation, but in the Japanese one, obviously they showed more footage in Japan and all of that. So I think that'll come in due time, but man, I am excited about this overall. This is a pretty cool thing that is happening. Another thing that you have to note though, if you do want to get into this, there is a trilogy available in the West on PC. They're enhanced ports, but they're not a remake like this. This is going to be a full remake with a bunch of cool new features and updates. So pretty crazy overall, right guys? So what do you guys think overall when it comes down to the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the first full remake of the original game? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.